And Mr. Chairman, I think we're ready. Mr. Chairman, we're ready. We're live streaming and ready when you are.
Okay, thank you all for being here. We will call this meeting of the History Commission to order, which is our first order of business. And on the next agenda, thank you for the public for being here. Our old business, item number 1 is protect and respect the bodies under the YWCA, as the agenda read, the 106 Cumming Street site, update and discussion. And maybe I will read this for the public and for the commissioners as well, just to bring people up to what's happened. At our last meeting, we did draft a resolution to present, that we drafted a resolution. And so then I'm not sure if everyone has a copy of it. So if you bear with me, I'll read it. And then we'll ask, I think it's up what the agenda item is, that we commissioners ourselves will decide the next step of this resolution, but we would certainly like to hear input from the public as well before we discuss as well. So if you don't mind, I'll read the resolution and then we'll ask if there is any public discussion. And if you do that, when you do go up to the microphone, if you would identify yourself, your name, if you're with a particular agency or not. And, I think everyone will be mindful of other people's time. But so this is the resolution that we passed at our last meeting. Being aware of the proposed development of a burial ground formerly owned by the City of Charleston at and adjacent to 106 Cumming Street, we members of the City of Charleston's Commission on History propose the following: that the City of Charleston is required by certain state statutes regarding disturbance of sites of human remains, work as a respectful steward, and become an active participant in all public discussions regarding the site and its development. 2, that the City of Charleston adhere to appropriate ethical and practical guidelines, protocols, and series of best practices that have been developed by other national and international entities and by professional organizations concerning recovery of human remains and preservation of cultural materials, regarding disturbance and/or development of such sites. This includes consulting with the local descendant community in making any decisions regarding the future of the human remains and the burial ground. That the City of Charleston, in current and future threats to burial sites, should become a role model for other cities and entities facing similar situations, and that the City of Charleston accept this sincere offer of this commission and its members to help in the process in any way that we can to continue to preserve and respect the historical assets of this city, a mission our commission is charged to uphold.
And Mr. Chairman, actually, we have a special guest. Mr. Mayor came in right as you started reading.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for attending.
Good to see you. Got a beer or what? A sign?
So you can possibly read, I'm not sure when you came in, Mr. Mayor, the okay, okay. And so then, and what we're doing now is before we as commissioners debate what we want to do with the next step, we thought we would hear from any members of the public if they wanted to comment about this resolution. And if you are, please do come up to the microphone. And as I said earlier, just identify yourself and speak your mind.
Always happy to get a comment.
Don't be shy.
Brian Turner, the Preservation Society of Charleston, and we greatly appreciate the Commission's leadership in this consequential proposal. Fully support the resolution that the city take a proactive role in stewarding this sacred historic site. Unless the college's proposed plans change, City Council can expect to receive sometime in the future a request to provide it the legal authority to remove burials. This authorization would be required by state law to avoid desecration of the site. Whether these bodies should be touched at all, let alone how they should be treated in the event of disturbance, is, according to state law, largely within council's discretion. The removal of an abandoned cemetery must be determined necessary and expedient. That term is not defined by state law, and to our knowledge, has never been given definition in South Carolina as to what this city might need to see from an applicant prior to making an informed decision. So in the case of the current cemetery under consideration for removal, there's a compelling reason for the city to take a different approach than it has in the past, to use its discretionary authority wisely given to it by state law. 3 key reasons I'll mention. The extent of anticipated burials to be discovered at issue. In this case, qualified historians have indicated that it is well into the thousands. 2, the city's historic role in accepting and caring for the deceased at this site, and subsequently selling the property without reserving the land as a burial ground. And 3, longstanding ethical principles that human remains may not be disturbed once laid to rest. The Federal Advisory Council on Historic Preservation offers important guidance. Adopted in 2023, its policy statement on burial sites, human remains, and funerary objects stresses that a study of avoidance alternatives and thorough consultation with the descendant or associated communities is a condition precedent to any harmful action. It must be clear to the community what the city will require of the applicant in advance of making such a significant finding that the statutory requirement has been met. This includes a comprehensive study of comparative projects, setting standards for community input and engagement, and requiring of the applicant a detailed analysis of less harmful measures that it has evaluated and considered to meet its project goals. The college's Community Engagement Council is a natural partner, and we too, at the Preservation Society, stand willing to support the commission and the city in this effort and appreciate your very close attention to the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to make some comments?
Good afternoon, Jerry Harris. As we've met and watched you evolve this resolution and statement, the Human Affairs and Racial Conciliation Commission is really appreciative of your thoughtfulness about it. We're continuing to monitor the situation and would urge you to do similarly. As Brian has discussed, there is this Community Engagement Commission that the College of Charleston has established. The Department of Environmental Services has indicated in its review process, which is part of the certification for any future, at least the initial demolition at the site, that the deliberations and recommendations coming from that Community Engagement Council will be important to hear. It would be, I think, appropriate for this body to continue to monitor that and perhaps produce some input into that. So that's part of the public record from the state, being aware of the fact that they have a different responsibility from the city. I think that's important to note. In addition, as you've described on a couple of occasions previously, the whole question of how we appropriately address burial sites and cultural activity. And it became apparent, I think, from the last recent actions by the city council approving the Courier Square project with the 72 bodies. Here we're talking perhaps 1,000. And it throws all of our heads in a spin about what it is that the city needs to do, how it would do it. At the last conversation, presentation at DES, the coroner's department indicated that they simply review to determine whether or not there's something related to criminal activity and then pass it on to the city. And the city has a process. Perhaps we should inquire in terms of what that process is. Perhaps we can strengthen it. That might be something that your commission might wish to address, and HARC is also looking at that as an example. We look forward to continued communication and appreciate all the work that you're doing. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak?
I'm Lachey Oubre. I am with Answer Street African Burial Ground Project, Protect and Respect the Bodies, and the Charleston Community Engagement Council with the college. The 106 Cumming Street project has historical and cultural significance. The statement just read gives much honor and respect to the ancestors laid to rest at this site. We as Charleston must do the most honorable and respectful consideration of the ancestors to make sure that Charleston, the world, knows what we're doing here and that we're doing the right thing.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Well, we thank you for your public input, and I would ask if the commissioners, if, just to begin our discussion, if any of the members of this commission have any questions about the process that they're unsure of. Again, we are talking about what we're going to do with this resolution that we, that we crafted at our last meeting. But again, before I thought we steer the conversation that way, I was just wondering if anyone on the commission needs any more information. There was a meeting for the Department of Environmental Services within the past 2 weeks or so, and that's a state commission. And again, there was a very large public attendance as well too, and people did have the opportunity to input their thoughts on this as well too. So there are a number of groups within the city addressing this issue, and I do think it's part of our historical commission within our portfolio to do it as well. But before we start discussing, again, just to repeat what our next order will be with this resolution, do any of my colleagues have particular questions or comments they'd like to make about the site? Dale.
Just very briefly, you mentioned that we spent a good bit of time crafting this language. Can you remind us of the status as far as any motion or tabling or extension of discussion in terms of final approval? Is there a motion?
I do think there was a motion at our last meeting where the wording was finally approved. What we did not attend to at that meeting is what we do with this resolution. So I do think this wording has been approved. And and I remind commissioners if they want to speak to use the green light.
Mr. Chairman, at the last meeting, I mentioned that the city of Charleston had a responsibility not only with regard to 106 Cumming Street, but with regard to all of the graveyards that can possibly be desecrated by current action. And I was particularly disturbed that the state, which has some large role in the activity of MUSC, was in the process of desecrating the B Street graveyard as we were drafting this document. So I don't know what the city can do regarding that current operation. I'm concerned about the B Street graveyard particularly because it is suspected that it is the final resting place of Denmark Vesey. And I was on a committee which established the Denmark Vesey Spirit of Freedom memorial that stands in Hampton Park now. I am very interested to see that any building activity by MUSC at least recognize the principles that are established that are cited in this resolution, and that the city, in whatever action it may take regarding this resolution, include the B Street graveyard in its discussions and its determinations. So I'm hoping that Commission will see fit to add to 1, 2, 3, 4, paragraph 4, after entities facing similar situations, comma, including the B Street burial ground. I don't know whether we can get, whether I can offer that as an amendment, Mr. Chairman, but that's what I would like to do.
I
at
do
this
think
point.
that's within your province, Wilmot, to, we can do a motion, but I do want to remind, as memory serves from our last meeting, that's why we specifically did change the, to sites instead of site. So we did want to wrap around other things that would come in the future that we're aware of at the time too. So I do think we discussed this last time, and as I remember, we voted down, I think, or we did not approve that specific language. But if you wanted to make a motion to amend this, we can go and do that. But as I understand it, then we would not be able to vote on what we do with this one to pass it along, because I think, I'm not sure, Jennifer, if in Robert's Rules of Order, if this will now become a different resolution, and we can then bring forward the discussion or not. So forgive me for being unclear, but so are you willing, did you want to make a motion to add language to this? And then we can see if someone will second it, and then we can take it that direction.
I do recall that I raised the issue at the prior meeting, and that the commission voted not to include specific language regarding the B Street burial ground. Hopefully, since the public is in attendance, some people may have a change of heart, change of mind. And if they do, then we may be able to get that language in there, which I think is specific and crucial to a sincere treatment of this matter.
So I think then, if you wanted to make a motion, we could see if there was a second.
I so move that we amend the resolution before the commission in paragraph 4, after language entities facing similar situations, comma, including the B Street burial ground, period.
Is there a second?
And would you keep the clause, should become a role model for other cities and entities facing similar situations?
Including the B Street burial ground.
Okay.
As I said, if it were not for the fact that public entities, the state of South Carolina, and public entities are in the process of desecrating a major graveyard in which many African-American people, including heroes of the city, were buried, I wouldn't be so insistent. But I'm very concerned that they recognize this for what it is, and you know, that the matter be treated with the importance and urgency it requires.
So we'll go ahead and say, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Dale?
I don't differ with the intent, but by adding a very specific case, which we've already talked about and recognize and agree is improperly being done, but by adding it as a specific case and not simply leaving it at such sites, this applies to our position on such sites, then for one thing you've done is to date, you've dated the resolution because it's specific. We know it's specific to 106 Cumming Street because that's what brought it to our attention. But by saying development of other such sites, we acknowledge that these things are a problem presently and likely in the future. We've said this in other meetings. So for the sake of moving forward, Doctor, I would propose that we leave this as it is, get it finished. Let's learn a little bit more about the medical university. That's the state property. Of course, the College of Charleston is a state agency, so to speak. And so I think if you name another, you need to name them all. And there's others in recent past, probably others currently. I think we heard one mentioned today, and certainly there'll be others in the future. I think a second resolution in the near future, in specific terms to locations and excavations and intended development that we become aware of, can be spelled out in somewhat more detail, but it's time to get this before the city council. And the question the chairman has presented is, what do we do with it? And it's clear to me that this goes to the city council, and with it, a public news release, at whatever degree that the city believes is proper. And I think it's very proper to go into some detail about what's going on and why this commission has been asked to comment, and bring it to the public's attention as soon as possible. I'm concerned about the medical university property. That's where the federal arsenal was. And a lot of history on that block. And actually the first identifiable military action related to development of the Civil War happened right there. And that may or may not relate to the cemetery or the burial ground. I don't know, but certainly the arsenal. So I propose that we not agree to make a change specific to any additional site, but we move forward with it as written and as approved at our recent meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there any other commentary on this, Brittany?
I agree. I do think that we do need something to recognize the B Street burial ground. I do agree with you, Dale, that we probably need to get more information to make its own resolution. So it could be maybe a little bit more powerful as to where they are in that project. I know they're at different stages right now. So if we could get more information on the current status and more historical information, I would love to have something proposed similar to this that reflects the current situation happening at B Street. But I do agree with you, Wilmot, that we need something.
And if I may add something by way of information, I think it was Dr. James Spady who is the one who had the most recent letter to the editor about the site. And I think he's the one whose book is coming out in February, specifically doing GIS mapping of the Denmark-VC insurrection. And I do think that maybe with his publication of his book in February, we might have more specific information. He's been the main proponent, as far as I know, the scholarly proponent who has been saying that there is a likely chance that Denmark-VCs and his men are buried there. But his book is due out in February, so I'm concurring with some of our other members that at some point we may have more specific information, and we certainly have the option to do something as specific for B Street as we're doing here with more information.
Yeah, the only reason, as I said, the only reason that, as I mentioned, the reason I'm so insistent about it is that there are many, many burial grounds that may be, and sites in the city of Charleston that may be affected by this kind of resolution. But there is an immediate need to pay attention to the B Street site because of the construction that is going on there now. And this all should have been considered by the state of South Carolina and by MUSC before it was begun, before the building was begun. But I don't know that, it's too late to do anything about what they're doing there now. And it's our responsibility to call their attention to it and to call the public's attention to it so that the public can act with regard to the possible or probable desecration of an important site that is ongoing. And we need to pay attention to it in that regard. So that's the reason I'm saying that we should include specific language regarding the B Street site. And the other sites may come up as more information comes to light, regarding other burial grounds, et cetera, but we know that the B Street site is being affected now, and we need to say something about it.
So I sense lots of passion here, but in my.
Mr. Chairman, can you turn your mic on? Sorry.
Oh, I'm the
And-
one that reminds everyone,
and
so yeah, thank you.
Just a reminder, Mr. Chairman, what's on the agenda is protect and respect the bodies under the YWCA 106 Cumming Street, update and discussion.
Right. And so then I do say there's a lot of passion here as well, but I do think we have a motion that has been seconded. And if there is no more discussion among the commissioners, I think we can vote to say whether we want to amend this this resolution or not.
Sure.
So everyone in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is that two? So it's Elizabeth.
Was
Judith.
it, is it, would you ask people to raise their hands?
Right. And then everyone opposed? So I think we rule by simple majority. So I do think the resolution will stand as it is. And so the next order of business is to, we as a commissioner decide how we want to proceed with this resolution. I don't want to choke off any kind of opportunities, but I do know a variety of ways we can go forward. I'll throw out some that I'm aware of, but I don't think we're limited to this. I do think we can present this to City Council, you know, as a person or a body. We can try to get on the agenda. We can present it simply. We can present it with, I assume, other rhetoric attached to it, strongly encouraging council to act in a specific way. I think we also have the opportunity of saying that we want to possibly present this resolution elsewhere. But I'm just throwing these topics out for discussion to decide what we want to do with this resolution that we did pass. So it's time for other people to turn their green lights on and see if anyone else have thoughts.
Mr. Chairman, I think the mayor may have.
If I may,
Oh,
Mr. Chairman,
I see the green light.
very honored and glad to be here. Sorry, it's my first meeting, but really do appreciate what you all are doing and the insight and expertise that you all bring to really important issues for the city. So I want to thank you for your service. And as it relates to this resolution, I think my suggestion would be I'm happy to carry this to City Council in the form of a council communication, let them know where the commission stands on this issue, and put it in the record for City Council meeting. I think that would be the appropriate way. If you add additional language or what have you, then it's kind of dilutes the resolution itself. Gets a little confusing. Is it the language or the resolution that is setting precedent, right? So I'm glad to do that if that is the will of this commission. I do want to say, just in relationship to this effort and the graveyard at 106 coming, it is something that is very much on the city's radar, and we appreciate you all's due diligence and study of this matter. And I think it's a great example of why the History Commission is so important. So again, thank you for your services there. For you all's information and for the public too, I have been in regular communication with President Hsu on this issue. We are monitoring it very closely, as are a lot of people, understandably. And we are committed to what you have outlined here in this resolution. So I think it will be well received at City Council. And we have let the College of Charleston know that we are committed to this. And I feel they are the same. I really do. I know there have been some frustrations at recent public meetings, but as I said, I've had detailed conversations with President Hsu on this. They are planning and committed to doing everything by the book and making sure that no corners are cut, and that if and when graves are found, which is a high likelihood, I think, that they will be respectfully reinterred, as has been protocol defined by state law, but also just as defined here ethically and morally the right thing to do. And there'll be details to be determined where they will be reinterred. I mean, this is always an issue that we as a city face when these unfortunate situations arise. But just know that we are committed to respecting the work and insight that you all have brought to the table and making sure that that is also reflected with our partners at the College of Charleston.
Thank you, sir. May I ask a question? Would it be helpful? I remember in the past with this commission reporting to city council with a resolution that we passed, and sometimes city council members did ask questions. And so do you think it would be helpful for one of us to, to actually just present this in case there were questions, or if you are presenting it within of the confines of a city council meeting, if we were present to be there, to answer any possible questions? I guess it's more of a procedural question I'm asking.
I'm open either way. I mean, you probably have more experience in this than I do, but I can always defer to the clerk for the particular appropriate way to go. But I think it could be expedited by just getting on the agenda through a council communication, right? Is that what it would be called?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
But would be great to have members of this commission there to answer questions, should council have any. Or, again, I'm certainly open if members of the committee or you as chair would prefer to get it on the agenda, and we could have it at a separate meeting, and you could present it. I'm indifferent. I mean, I'm agnostic on which way to go.
So, Mr. Chairman, just to add to what the mayor is saying, so we can place it on the city council agenda under petitions and communications. If you want to be there, you can present it, or if you prefer the mayor to present it, or if you just want to be present in case there are any questions, and if that's what you would like to do.
Right. And I would defer to commission members if they have any strong thought about how we as a group would like to proceed. Dale.
Mr. Chairman, I understand how the city council works, and as a correspondence being received by the council, this is important. It'll be done formally, and I agree with what the mayor is heading toward, and that is that's not the time for a full-fledged description and instruction and discussion on this subject in terms of the city council's full attention. But there should be that, and whether that's a separately scheduled meeting, a component of a future meeting, I don't know, but I think it's very important that it occur because, as the mayor has said, and we all agree, it's in the public eye. There's many positions, there's many opinions, there's a lot of work to be done, and there's a lot of unknowns. And the city council, if it has decisions to make, other than just saying, yeah, that's a great resolution, they should have more detail, and it's not for this commission to bring it to them. It's for them at some level to develop an agenda, maybe a separate meeting, maybe an extended discussion period with the city council. But it needs to be done, but at the time that our chairman is present and presents, or is present when the mayor presents this resolution, I don't think that's the time for the full discussion, but it should occur.
So I see nodding heads. I don't want to choke off discussion, but if that's how the council would like to proceed, would you like to put that into language as a motion? Basically putting it forward as expediently as possible, and one of us, a representative of this commission, being there present to possibly answer questions. I think that's the motion that I hear going forward.
I'll be happy to make the motion with the understanding that you agree that it would be our chairman who's present.
Right. Certainly should the calendar make it possible.
In that case, I will make the motion that the commission forward to the mayor and clerk of council the resolution finalized today on the subject of 106 Cumming Street, and that in the mayor's and city council's process, the resolution be made public, and that some comment, I would request, be made that further discussion would be, public discussion would be made on the subject, and that the chairman of our commission would be present to support the mayor in his presentation.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Peg Eastman has second. Is there any other discussion? Can we call the vote? Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so this will now go forward. So act surprised when you see it.
Okay. Right.
So thank you, members from the public, for being here. There is actually going to be somewhat, if you look at our agenda, our final, one of our points of business will be about the Anson Street African Burial Ground marker, approval of that language. You're more than welcome to stay, but we understand that everyone has busy lives, so we will not take offense if you members of the public don't want to watch us on the next agenda items, but we are now going to proceed for that. And that is for our History Commission members.
I think I think the next item is the moonshine marker on the agenda. Yes, sir.
Right. So the next thing is the moonshine marker, which I guess we have right here. We did have this, I think, as an order of information at our last meeting. We did not have a lot of information about it. Subsequently, we have gotten more information. If you will remember your packets, there were many newspaper articles describing the death of this horse, I think through a drunken driver, some information about the horse patrol itself. We do have a representative from the police departments here who can possibly answer some questions about maybe the location of the marker. But I did want to just first bring this up on the agenda and see if there's any discussion or any particular questions that commission members may have. And we understand, Mr. Mayor, you're more than welcome to stay, but we understand that you have a busy agenda as well, and we're very honored by your presence. Okay. And you'll see the exciting work we do. Okay. Yeah. I do have one grammatical thought. As many of y'all here know, that we probably parse grammar as much as we parse history. It would be if we're doing the third from the bottom, if we go that way, there's a dangling modifier. Dale and I had the same English teacher at St. Andrews. A steadfast companion to officers and a beloved presence on our streets, comma, moonshine service exemplified. That would not modify service. I would suggest just saying a steadfast companion to officers and a beloved presence on our streets, comma, moonshine exemplified dedication, strength, and quiet dignity. It would be the horse himself and not the horse's service exemplifying dedication, strength, and quiet dignity. That would take one word off and it would make it grammatically correct. If we're going to move forward with that. But do people have other questions? And again, we can make this into a motion. Brittany?
Who sponsors this? Like is this the city of Charleston that endorses?
So there is a nonprofit, and if you could speak to us and identify yourself, and thank you so much for being here.
Sarah Martin with the City of Charleston Police Mounted Patrol Unit. So we were approached by Ms. Harvey in reference to building this memorial for moonshine. The last I spoke with Ms. Harvey, her plan was to make a donation through the Lens Foundation in order to have the memorial paid for and then built.
And I think the Lens Foundation is a 501c3. Just for past history for people here, we of the commission want to make sure that city monuments and plaques on public property are sponsored by nonprofits so that business entities, et cetera, will not be necessarily cluttering up our streets. So that's why we ask that question, to make sure that it is a nonprofit or a city or part of the city itself sponsoring it.
I would recommend, because the way that it is now, it just feels like a floating plaque, like who put it here, I would recommend putting sponsored by Lens Foundation if we can get something like that. Just because, and also I raised the question of, well, where are the other horses? Are they all buried on that same site? But I mean, if we can kind of say who sponsored this, who did this, maybe it gives a little bit more context.
And I will say most of, at least the state historical markers, all have that language on the bottom as to who the sponsor is. And I know this will be a standalone, it may be an unfair question. Do you know the materials it will be made out of? Or I know you're fairly aware of the location of where it's going to be, correct?
Yes, sir. I do not know exactly the details of the material the marker would be made out of, but it is in Hampton Park, and the best way I could describe that general area to you is if you were on the Citadel's campus and you know where that Starbucks and the Citadel bookstore is, if you were to walk straight out that building, cross over Mary Murray Drive, there's probably about 4 or 5 oak trees between Mary Murray Drive and the walking path by the lake. So it's right sandwiched right in that area of Hampton Park.
And I see Jason Kronsberg from the city of Charleston, who probably can, standing right behind you, who probably can give us more information. Thank you for being here, Jason.
Yeah, just so we do know exactly where he was buried. It's been a couple of years. We did some GPR work. We found the anomalies where the dirt changed. We have some photographs of when he was buried, some newspaper articles. So we know pretty much exactly where it was. It'll be a traditional bronze type plaque on a low plinth nearby a pathway in that area that the officer just explained.
Okay, so so on a plinth maybe so
Yeah,
high or
a
something
low
like that,
plinth, like
tilted,
any of the stuff we see in our parks.
right? So it'll be bronze, perhaps something like this one for the Anson Street. Okay. And I think just FYI, I think there is isn't there a place along Mary Murray that talks about where other horses are near the corral? I think there might be some kind of plaque in the ground, if I remember correctly.
Yes, sir. There is a memorial there. It's actually now in front of the paddock since we redid the fencing over at the horse barn, but there is something there for the other 5 horses.
Mr. Chairman, at the risk of being accused of speciesism, I'm wondering whether this this proposal actually involves history. I've always taught that history is a study of things that have an impact on people over a long period of time. And while moonshine is certainly an important figure in the minds of the people who knew moonshine, I don't know whether it qualifies as history. And so I'm concerned about that. The incident in which the horse was injured and lost its life is certainly deplorable, DUI. But I'm not sure that this falls in the realm of history. And I would like the commission we don't want to cheapen the idea of things that have an impact on people over a long period of time, because they give us a guide to the future. And we want to know something about where people are going. And I don't know, as I said, because of the horse's length of service, all the rest of it, I don't think this qualifies as history. There is a memorial to the horse and to the other horses who were in service to the city over a long period of time, but over some period of time. I don't even know how long a period of time it was. But there is some memorial and some appreciation for the service these animals rendered. But as I said, I don't want to in any way lessen the importance of history to the city by just willy-nilly throwing up monuments. And throwing up this kind of monument may be a step in the wrong direction. So I'm hoping that we will consider seriously what history means, the meaning of history, and when we consider supporting the erection of monuments. There's already a monument to these horses, and I think that's appropriate.
Well, I can say in response to that, I always appreciate your input as a historian, Wilmot. You know, I don't think it's in the province of the History Commission itself is to define what history is. And I think, you know, my years as an archivist, you know,
That's what we
helping-
do. That's what we do. That's why we call ourselves historians.
but we also don't know in the future what human beings will want to thing. But if I may finish my point, I think where this falls under our province, and again, we can decide to pass it or not pass it, but I think why this has come to the History Commission is that any monument memorializing anything, you know, put up on public property is the province of this commission. So, you know, while we also rule on the historical merit of things, we also rule on, you know, the language of things and the appropriateness of things too. And again, I'm not discounting that. I'm just saying that that's why this is here before us. I'm not taking away from your argument. I'm just trying to explain that's why it's here before us, because it's being proposed to be put on public property.
I understand
Okay.
the reason that it's before the commission, but it's the commission's duty to consider it as history or not history.
So-
And if it isn't history, you're in the wrong place.
So I do think we have two possible motions that could be made. One, we could make a motion to accept this with the changes as noted. That could be one motion that someone could make, or someone could make a motion that we disregard this.
Mr. Chairman, I move that this matter, this proposal be tabled by the commission until we can get some clarity on whether or not this qualifies as history.
Okay, do we have a second? We do not have a second. So going by Robert Rules of Order, does someone want to put forth a motion? Again, I'm not trying to put, you know, again, we could ask for more information, we could accept it as amended, but, you know, I do think this, on our agenda, this is an action item and we need to take action on it.
I do have a question. What has been the process through which other city markers on city property have been approved and created?
So great question. So as Harlan alluded to, typically we would recommend anything come to the History Commission for, and in this case, some wordsmithing, grammatical punctuation. So I think in many cases, we would recommend things to the History Commission in that capacity, just to kind of make sure that it reads right, it's correct grammatically, and it'll be correct for the future.
Dale.
I have a proposed amendment or addition, if I may.
Sure.
I'd like to ask the officer, here where it says laid to rest, moonshine, so-and-so, would that be a place where we could mention the police unit in which these horses served? You yourself represent that unit now,
I do.
but there is a designation for the unit. I think that should be in here.
Okay.
That's,
And what is the proper name of that unit?
It's the City of Charleston Mounted Horse Patrol Unit, or City of Charleston Police Department Mounted Horse Patrol Unit.
that would be appropriate in my mind.
So City of Charleston Police Department Mounted Horse.
Mounted Horse Patrol Unit.
That would give it some context.
Were these animals given a designation as far like dogs in the service now are as a rank or position or seniority or anything of that nature?
I don't know if they were given a rank, to be honest with you, sir. wasn't on the force at that time. No, none of, our four currently don't have a rank, no, sir.
Chairman,
Okay.
I like the suggestion that we put the sponsoring organization here, please.
Right. And is Lens Foundation, Lens? Do we know?
It is,
Okay. Right.
yes.
So all caps, is that abbreviation of something? Right, right.
Yes.
Neighborhood support.
So if someone wants to, if any, are there any more questions, or if people want to put forward a motion?
Do we decide where we'd put that information? that
So
people have to
what
sign?
I thought was, and forgive me, Dale, if I'm correct, so laid to rest here, moonshine, I'm assuming of the City of Charleston Police Department Mounted Horse Patrol Unit, served our community with honor, loyalty, heart, courage, and grace. I mean, to me, that would explain more to the public, you know, that this is, you know, this was a horse specifically working with the City of Charleston Police. And I guess as standing as it is, I mean, it doesn't really explain that. And we often see that as our mission here, is realizing that with the fewest amount of words possible, we need to put as much context as possible, realizing that people don't understand history. And I think that's a great addition, Dale.
Have we included also your suggestion, Harlan, in the final motion?
Right, we talked, you know, we changed that line to moonshine exemplified. And here we get into the weeds. So is everything capitalized, laid to, well, I guess everything's in all caps. So Jason, if all the words will be in all caps like this, do we think that's the case? Then we don't have to worry about capitalization of Charleston, City of Charleston Police Department Mounted Horse Patrol Unit. Like I said, if it's in all caps, we're,
Great.
right, yeah, then we don't have to worry about it. So if you can assure us it's in all caps, we don't have to get into the weeds too much about that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, and when y'all get to the point of approving a motion, we can make some of those minor adjustments and bring it back at maybe a staff level or something like that.
Okay, sure. So if there are no other questions, are we at the point of making a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the text proposed by the City of Charleston Police Department to be displayed at the gravesite of Moonshine be adopted with the amendments accepted this evening.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, can we call the vote? Everyone in favor, please say aye and or raise their hand. Aye. Nays?
Nay.
Any abstentions? Thank you. We are now on to the next, and we're into new business and the Anson Street.
F-A-Y. Not N-E-I-G-H.
I got it. Okay, I'm slow on the uptake. Make the record show that. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I have an item of old business, if I may.
Sure.
It's not on the agenda, but it was reported in the past meeting about the Medal of Honor plaque on the flagpole at Marion Square being dedicated. I have a handout, which was never handed out, unfortunately, and with a great deal of detail. This was prepared by the Board of Field Officers and by General James Livingston staff and General Livingston himself. And it pretty much tells the whole story. And I'd like to make these available to members this evening, those who care to have one.
Well, thank you. We can do that there. And if you want to hand it out, and we can, thank you. Thank you, Dale. And Jason, did you want to present on that? So I do believe, can you And actually, I see that the, passing it on the way here, it looks like most of the work has actually been done there on the site. And can you bring us up to date about the dedication ceremony and that sort of thing and the status?
Yeah, so the work is completed. And if I'm correct, the dedication's on the 14th. So on the 14th at 2 o'clock, from 2 to 4 is the dedication and unveiling. So this was provided me from the committee, which we got it to you all for your review and any
Right.
comments you may have.
So is this proposed to be cast or has it already been cast?
It has not been.
Okay, so do you think maybe at the memorial, this will be maybe done in a surrogate form or something like that? Or is this to be just done with approval at a later date?
Yeah, if anything is presented for this, it will be a poster board type monument. It won't be completed by then.
Right, right. Thank you for that. Do any of the commissioners have questions about the concept, the wording? And it's great that we have representatives here that can possibly answer questions.
Can we do something similar to this where we do, I mean, is the city sponsoring this or who is the party?
The Burial Memorial Committee is
Okay.
the sponsor.
Can we, just to be consistent, it might be helpful for us in the future just to always have something like that.
I think that's a great point, and
Mhm.
we totally agree.
Okay.
That every monument or plaque, anything that's in the public realm should have the sponsor labeled, whether it's the city of Charleston or some other group. I think that's a great idea.
Mhm. And so is this, sorry, I didn't, is this sponsored by the city of Charleston itself? Or is it the Anson Street Burial Project itself? Right. Right. So it would be sponsored by the the Anson Street African Burial Memorial Association, or is it City of Charleston?
So it's multiple groups
Okay.
actually. So we can get identified
Okay.
and
So is it the Gullah Society, a variety of, but anyway, so, okay,
so there's the city, the Memorial Committee, Gullah Society.
project, okay.
So, and we can work through Nigel to make sure that everybody's good with who those are. listed
Right,
as.
and then they're, right. I'm assuming we've all read this before. Any questions about the language? We now added, I think, if we do a resolution, a motion to go forward, we'll make sure that all the 4 sponsoring organizations are adequately represented. And is this to be attached to the monument itself, or is it, again, will it be on a shaft or
It'll be a short plinth
similar?
nearby where the temporary one was, but near where the burial vault is actually located.
Right. And I noticed the area is fenced in now. Is there, and again, I've not paid a close enough attention, will there be access to it?
Yeah,
So-
there's gateways.
Okay,
So there's decorative gates that are there as well. Yes, it'll be right in that same area. Yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't on the, on the sculpture or something like that. I just wanted to make sure exactly
Yeah,
where it
but-
was placed.
Where
Right.
the original one was.
Right, I
is-
remember,
But
right.
it's right off the sidewalk where the new fencing is.
Right.
So we'll have to just kind of maneuver it around based on the pathway design.
So pedestrians walking by will be able to see it through the fence.
We'll
Right.
look at that to figure
Right.
out. I'm not sure if the committee has decided if the gates are gonna remain open or if they're closed. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that people, can see it. Any other questions or considerations about the language of this plaque? Failing that, you know what I'm going to say next. I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve this plaque with the addition of the names of the sponsoring organizations.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion? Life is so easy. Can we call a vote on this? Everyone in favor, please say aye, or raise their hand, or both. Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Thank you all. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the project for being here. So miscellaneous business, the only thing that I have to report is that you may have remembered from the last meeting that Mickey Rosenblum said that she was possibly going to resign. Indeed, she did. After 41 years of service on this. I'm not sure if the city ever formally thanks people. I don't know if, again, if it's in Robert's Rules of Order for us to pass a resolution just to thank her for her service, or if the city does something like that for retiring members.
Well, we'll do something for her.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an astonishing, and as you will remember, she was always, I think I can remember one meeting where she could not come or something like that, but she always helped us make a quorum. And her memory stretched so far back, as I like to say, she remembered when this commission had a budget, so it was prehistoric times. So there were that too. So,
No, it was just Joe Riley's turn.
yeah. So I think this commission actually dates back to the 40s, the 1940s.
Yeah.
But anyway, so any other business before the commission?
I don't have any specific business at this point, but there is a matter that during Thanksgiving, I had a cousin who told a story about a friend of hers, Pauline, who was I didn't know, was a descendant of Dave the Potter. And she and her family filed suit against the Museum of
In Boston.
Boston Museum of Fine Arts. And they were awarded ownership of the two pots that were in the collection of the Boston Museum. I don't know to what extent that will form a precedent with regard to Charleston's handling of its, Charleston Museum's handling of its Dave the Potter artifacts. But I do know that the problem I do think the commission should say something about it. There were two statements made. The museum made a statement, Charleston Museum made a statement, and the South Carolina Museum made a statement. The South Carolina Museum statement recognized the question of provenance and whether or not its holdings have been properly acknowledged the proper owners of these artifacts. So I would probably try to prepare a statement on that for one of our meetings. And hopefully Charleston Museum will see that it is important for it to address the issue of the rectitude of its holdings and honesty of its holdings. Because that's the basis on which art and history is treated in the modern era. And that what goes for everything that was looted during colonial times to whatever was snatched by the Nazis in before World War II.
Sure. So
we need to I think we do need to address that issue. That issue. Charleston Museum should not disregard the issue of proper provenance.
Right, and I would suggest also, as we did with the burial sites, first some procedural questions. If we want this as an action item, I think we would need to, present it, first get it on an agenda, et cetera, like that, if we want to take action on that. And obviously should inform the Charleston Museum itself. But again, just for the sake of discussion, since we've included burial grounds and not just 106 in language, I think when you bring forward something like that, if you would want to bring in other cultural institutions as well, and not just the Charleston Museum. And I'm just passing that on for information. If you do want to bring this forward, it's an actionable item,
Yeah, there's a state museum as well.
Right, but again.
But, and we're, I'm concerned mainly with the state and the local.
Yeah.
State and local affairs.
Yeah, no, I think it was,
I'm not talking about, what may be held nationally.
no, I'm talking about, like within the city of Charleston again, which is in our province.
Mhm.
So again, I would, but again, so if we have to do it, it's an action item. It does need to get on the agenda beforehand, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
And of course, we would.
Well,
want-
I'll send
yeah,
you,
Okay.
I'll certainly
Great.
email you.
Great,
Mhm.
okay.
I started to send you a copy of the article, which appeared in
No, actually,
Friday's paper.
right.
Mhm.
About a month ago is when the, excuse me for knowing this, when the Boston Museum put that PR out, and I got it directly from them, and I sent it to the local newspapers who did not pick it up for a month. But anyway, so I'm glad to see that they did pick it up because,
The AP, it was
Yeah.
on the AP wire
Right,
and they picked it
right,
up.
yeah. But anyway, I think it was an astonishing thing on their part. But anyway, so if there's no other business, we can call this meeting adjourned with a motion and a second, which I'm going to assume is there. And I thank you all for your service, and I hope you all have a pleasant holiday season.
Oh, happy Hanukkah.
Yep. Thank you, city staff, for being here as always.
Okay.